Hi, it's Maya here with my BookTubeAthon Wrap-Up. Now I did post an update video on Wednesday of the BookTubeAthon week, so I'm just going to quickly go through the things that I read during the first 2 days so that I won't repeat myself too much and focus on the things that I read later on in the BookTubeAthon. So I started the BookTubeAthon by reading B.G. Woodhouse's Jeeves short stories. I read the first one ever, from The Man with Two Left Feet, which was a short story collection that didn't feature any more Jeeves stories, just that one. And it was clearly a prototype story because Jeeves wasn't really a character in it. It was just Wooster going around bungling things up, and Jeeves was only briefly mentioned by name as being his butler. But then I moved on to My Man Jeeves and read the first 3 Jeeves stories from that, and those were right away the stories that I think of as Jeeves stories, where Jeeves is a character and Jeeves helps Wooster out. On Monday, I also started reading my yellow book, The Geek Feminist Revolution by Cameron Hurley. I was planning to only read a couple of essays, and then I read 100 pages, so this really caught me. It's an essay collection about geek things and feminist things, written by Cameron Hurley for her blog, and I've never read anything from Cameron Hurley before, but I was really interested in this one, and I'm really glad I picked it up. So that was Monday. On Tuesday I read the last Jeeves story I had planned to read, and then read one extra, which was the story where Jeeves is hired by Wooster, and that concluded my challenge of reading a book older than me, because these were written from 1915 to 1917. And then on Tuesday evening I watched the first episode of the Jeeves and Wooster TV series with Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie, which I really loved as a kid, and it was such fun to watch again, even though I remembered quite a lot of what happens in that first episode. So that also fulfilled the challenge of reading and watching a book to movie adaptation. And on Tuesday I also finished another challenge, which was to read a book from your favorite author. And I read The Wilful Princess and the Piebald Prince by Robin Hobb, which is a novella set in the 6 duchies before the Farseer trilogy, quite a long time before it. It's divided into 2 parts. The first tells of the Wilful Princess and how she was brought up to become willful, and the story is written down by a maid-servant of the princess. And the second part focuses on the Piebald Prince, who is the kid of the Wilful Princess. And this gives a really good background into the persecution of the witted in the Farseer trilogy, and I gave this 5 stars and I really recommend it. Then on Wednesday I reread the first 2 volumes of Rat Queens. These are a fancy comic filled with badass women, nudity and swearing, and I really like them. I had given both of these 4 stars back when I read them for the first time, and I stand by that rating now. And I think I even like the second volume a bit better this time around than when I read it the first time. I always loved the first book, but the second one I didn't love as much, but now I really liked it. And then, as my book to read after sunset, I read volume 3 of Rat Queens. I read this during Wednesday and Thursday after sunset. And this is still written by Curtis J. Weber, but this one is drawn by Tess Fowler and colored by Tamara Bonvillain. And I really like the art style, but I think this story was a bit messy. The storytelling didn't work as well as it had in the previous ones. I think this story arc would have required a few more issues to not feel rushed. Also, while the art was good, there were some issues where I felt like it was a bit rushed too, like the artist was perhaps rushing to meet a deadline. I gave this one 3 stars. This is it for the Rat Queen so far. It is on hiatus because there were some messy things going on between the writer and the artist, so the artist left. And I'm just waiting to see what happens with this if the series ends. I really hope they don't pick up the artist that was in the first volume, who left the series when he was convicted of domestic violence. So if they decide to bring that artist back, I will not be continuing with the series. This might be it for Rat Queens. So enough about that, let's move on. So all during the week I had been reading more essays from the Geek Feminist Revolution. And since I had already completed 4 challenges and I was right on track to finish a 5th one, you might think that I managed to finish all of them, since I had such a great start to the week. But no. On Thursday, I had read the prologue from Honest Night, my book that I found through BookTube. This is quite a fun and entertaining book and not that long, so if I had to continue to read it from Thursday to Sunday, I would have finished it. But I didn't. On Friday, I went to see Ghostbusters when it premiered here. On Saturday, I went to see Ghostbusters again with my sister, and not a lot of reading was done on Friday or Saturday. So as you can tell, I really like the movie. I have been a huge fan ever since I was a kid. I've watched the first two so many times, and I think the new movie was so much fun. I especially liked the cold open, and I was so into the character of Holtzman, and I really loved the sound when the proton packs were into action and when they shoot at the ghosts. So I was so into that movie, and it really ate a lot of my reading time, because after the movie I also stayed with my sister to discuss the movie. So yeah, but I did manage to finish on Saturday the last few essays from this one, so I concluded my challenge of reading a book with yellow on the cover. So this essay collection is divided into a few parts. My favorite parts were Geek and Revolution. I especially liked Some Men Are More Monstrous Than Others on True Detectives, Men and Monsters, Our Dystopia, Imagining More Hopeful Futures, Let It Go on Responding or Not to Online Criticism, and of course the We Have Always Fought, Challenging the Women, Cattle and Slaves narrative, which was the only thing that I had read from this before, because it won a Hugo Award and I went to search it up and I read it and really liked it, and that was actually the reason why I picked up this book. I'm sure there were a lot of other essays that I really liked. I did thoroughly enjoy the whole of the book. Those are the few that I can name right away. I gave this one 5 stars. I really recommend it. As I said, I haven't read anything from Hurley before, so if you have followed her blog, a lot of these essays are from her blog, so you might have read a lot of them. So now it was Sunday, the last day of the BookTubeAthon. I had finished 6 books and 5 of the challenges, so I only needed to complete the read 7 books and the read a book you discovered through BookTube challenges. And this was the first day that I went off my TBR. So I read this one-shot story of Lumberjanes. I've read the first volume of Lumberjanes, so I was familiar with the characters, but I haven't read any more because my library doesn't have any more for some reason. This is a one-shot called Beyond Bay Leaf, written by Faith Erin Hicks and illustrated and lettered by Rosemary Valero O'Connell. So not the regular series artist, so this looks different, but I still really enjoyed the art and I found this to be fun and entertaining. It's about the girls going to stargaze in the camp, and of course they get into all sorts of adventures. I gave it 4 stars. And then on Sunday I also read another graphic novel. I read Coco Be Good or Coco Be Good, I'm not sure, by Jen Wang. And this is a contemporary comic about young people learning what they want to do in life. It focuses on this guy John, who is 23 and is planning to leave for Chile with his older girlfriend, who is going there to teach in a school. So he's just going along. He doesn't really know what he wants to do. And then there's Coco, who is a really colorful character who really doesn't know what she wants to do either. I did enjoy the art style a bit more than I enjoyed the actual story. Contemporary stories are always a bit of a hit and miss for me. I gave this one 2.5 stars. So by reading this, I concluded the Read 7 Books challenge. So that leaves Honors Night. If I had picked this up on Friday after reading the prologue on Thursday, I would have finished this, of course. But instead, I think I read 1 or 2 chapters on Friday and Saturday, and I read until exactly halfway through on Sunday. I've since finished this and I thought it was fun and entertaining. This is the second book in the Paradox series, which is a fun science fiction adventure romance. This suffered a bit of being the middle book in a series, but it still brought us a lot more information and brought the story forward to more events to happen in book 3. I think I enjoyed the first book better than this one. I gave them both 3 stars, which is for me a fun, entertaining book that didn't really make me love it, but I still really enjoyed it. Like I said, I enjoyed the first book a bit more. The second half of the first book focused a bit more on the romance side that I usually like, and this was more light on the romance, and I still really like the main character, Devi. I think she's a great main character. So I didn't finish that during BookTubeAthon, and then half an hour before the BookTubeAthon ended, at 11:30 p.m, I got greedy. And I remembered that I have the first part in the cereal box story, The Witch Who Came In From the Cold, which I had won from a giveaway by Brie from Stories from the Shelf. And I also had heard from the book or the story for the first time from her channel. So I was like, 30 minutes? I can finish this. I can read this and I have finished all the challenges. So I was racing the clock. It was about 29 pages, so it was about 30 pages and I should have read a page a minute, which is really fast for me. This first part is called A Long Cold Winter, and I did read it, and I did manage to finish it 5 minutes after midnight, so I was like, I can still count this. But since I rushed to finish it, I realized that I actually couldn't remember a lot of what I have read afterwards. I didn't pay enough attention, so I think I failed that challenge, even though I technically completed it. I will have to read that story again before I can read the second part, because I didn't really pay attention. That wasn't a good choice. But anyway, I concluded most of the challenges, and I read some really great things. My favorites being Robin Hobb's novella and Cameron Hurley's essay collection. I hope you all had a great BookTubeAthon, and I will see you all later.